So hello everyone, it's Collette here from the Sacred Rose Temple, and I am doing the rounds of lives this morning. Many of you who do my work or those that follow my page know that I'm not really a live person. I tend to like to hide behind the computer. So I'm here showing up in a different way now to try and get my messages across through the audio visual way instead of the old writing way that I normally do. So welcome all to the Rose Temple. I'm broadcasting this from the Sacred Rose Temple in France. This is a retreat centre called the Temple de la Rose that was made for retreats and supporting people through their spiritual journey and the mystical awakening and getting through the times that we're getting through at the moment. So I've been teaching for many years in the mystical and spiritual realms, and I'm a yoga teacher and I work in therapy and I work with women's feminine empowerment. I've been a spiritual seeker on many journeys with many teachers to many countries, learning different techniques, working with different shamans and mystical beings and teachers. And so it's my world's journey and my life's work to share all this with you all now. So I just want to talk about what's been going on out there in our world from a spiritual, mystical perspective and through the voices and words of my teachers that I work with. So what we're seeing outside is a bit of a shit show, isn't it? At the minute, it's like a crazy theatre that's going on. It's like we're watching it from a theatre lens. So we've got the presidential elections in America, we've got COVID going on, and we're watching all the different countries behave differently to this pandemic. Whether we believe it's planned or not, it's happening in our collective. And I have my own theories about it. You know, I believe that the pandemic, the virus, is, you know, going on in the collective as a divine design. It's got an intention, but I believe there's darker powers at the minute as well behind that they're utilising what's happening to enforce some pretty horrific things upon us. And I was definitely made aware of this about 10 years ago when I worked with my first mystical teacher, who told me in about 10 years' time that the world will go through some exponential crisis. And behind that crisis would be like a force of higher power beings, i.e. with money, that would try to, you know, govern the whole world into like a slave trade. So we'd all become, you know, working in jobs that we didn't want to work in, and, you know, and it's got loads and loads of roots, this plan. But what the ancients and what the sages would call this plan is the Kali Yuga. If the Hindu scriptures speak about the Kali Yuga, it's the dark descent. And the dark descent that we are currently viewing like a bloody game show out there is about descending us as humans so that we can transform. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to work out that the world's pretty screwed, you know, it's pretty crooked. There's a lot of terrible things going on there, and we're seeing it. Corruption in politics, people starving, people bombing each other, racial hatred, you know, hatred against the feminine and the masculine, horrible abominations done to animals. So this is a time now that we all need to change. We need to change, and that's what this time is about. However it happens on the streets, whatever you're fighting with out there that you feel is trying to control you, we all have to look inward. We all have to say, how do I need to change? What are my dark behaviours? What are my shadow behaviours? And you all know I'm a huge fan of Jung psychology and any psychologists and teachers that talk about the shadow. And the shadow is the darker aspects of your human psychology, your darker behaviours that we don't like to admit. And we all contribute to a bigger collective of darkness because we all hold darkness within us. So this is the time. It doesn't matter whether you're spiritual or not, but it's a time to be asking, what is my darker behaviours? What ways can I change that are more positive and contribute to this planet. So for example, a big one for me has been being ethical in the way that I use resources. So switching off lights, not having the central heating on all the time, heating our room, those basic things that we've forgotten that pull resources on Gaia. I've been looking at the way that I behave towards people. I have a shadow analysis that I work with regularly to look at the attributes of my personality that aren't good. And we all hold these, we do, it's part of being human. So the ways in which I dominate, the ways in which I hold a deep masculine pillar that's always not beneficial for me. And I've been really trying to tear these pieces apart so that I can look into them and find the places in me that operate in darkness, not because I'm a dark person, no, but none of us really are, but because we're hurting, or there's a wound under there, or there's a pain that's been inflicted from childhood, or a trauma that we've had to go through in life. So we behave darkly. The subconscious behaviour always needs to be seen, but it wants to be loved and it wants to be healed. And that is what this time is calling for us to do. And I hold family time in this house, that we look at our behaviours. How are we still, not recycling enough? How are we still using resources without being mindful of them? How do we still get pulled into this like political bloody show that's going on? It's like the Hunger Games out there at the minute. You've got all these people hanging on to every vote and everything that's going on. And I'm not saying it's not important, because it is important, but how much are you in that clown show and using it to escape your own reality and what needs changing? Whatever's reflected out there for us. So in the political scene at the minute, whatever's happening is just a reflection of what is in our collective. So we've got like a bunch of comedians in our politics, or we've got a buffoon. Then how are we all behaving in that way? I have been campaigning for years to show people that the structures that control us are actually not on our side. They're not on our side. We've all been brought up to conform to these structures, and the structures are out for one thing. They're out for control and money most of the time. So it's time for us now to realise those structures do not support us. And where are we supporting the structures that do not support us? I'm not talking about rebellion, and I'm not talking about, mass global revolts on the streets and all of these crazy things. I'm asking us to take a look at ourselves and to go inward to see why we buy into them. I have been sharing with all my clients and those people that follow me in little tidbits on how to be ready for what is coming. And I've been doing this without trying to frighten people. But as we descend into this, we're going to find ourselves in a world that we don't recognise. It's going to change out there. There will be revolts. There will be people taken to the streets. And only yesterday I was working with a student who had been researching, all these crazy underground vaults where the billionaires are getting ready for mass rioting. And you can go online and find them. They're renting these out for thousands of pounds, millions of pounds to the global millionaires. And they've got food stored there and arms stored there. It really is insane. And on a human level, I felt into this when somebody showed it me years ago. I was like, well, I wouldn't want to live somewhere like that. I'm not going to be I'm okay Jack and go hide in some bunker somewhere while the whole world struggles. We have to be realistic that times are going to change, and we have to get ready for it. So I was given huge insight many years ago, and I've worked with teachers that are giving me insight now. And we have to be ready. We have to be sensible. So I've been getting ready. I've been placing tin food in my stores. I have got things like matches and candles. I've made sure my house has got a stove that I can cook on that doesn't rely on gas or electricity. I have been readying myself in a sensible way, not a panicking way, not a fearful way, but a sensible way. And the food that I've got in my store, I think, well, if I'm wrong and all the teachers are wrong and everyone's predictions are wrong, the worst thing that can happen is that I give all my food to the food bank. So I am preparing and I'm sharing with you all to be ready, have food in, make sure that you have access to clean water, that you can filter water if you don't have clean river water or drinking water. Get a Berkey filter, make sure that you have water, access to water. So the other things that you need to prepare for is think of survival kits. Me and my son went onto some of these survival programs and we were looking at what we need. We have fueling, gas tanks for using gas cookers. So just thinking of your own survival and what you'll need. I've heard lots of people, again, I've been doing lots of research, and somebody's on this call who's been working with me into the financial aspects of what's going to happen. So we know that the banks are going to probably withdraw money or collapse, and that might not be immediate, but that will be, forthcoming. We see the rising of the cryptocurrency, and everybody is starting to question, what about my money, if you've got money? And if you've got a bit of money, what everything's pointing to at the moment is to invest in silver coins. And lots of people were saying to me, no, gold, you need gold bullions, but gold bullions won't buy you your basic foods. You can't exchange a gold bullion with the farmer down the road who's producing carrots or turnips. We're going to need basic things. So basic coins like silver are always at the street level. I'm not a millionaire. I'm nowhere near that. So for me, gold isn't in my currency, but silver is. The basic things that I will need to buy should money disappear or become short, I will be able to trade in silver. And that is what most of the survival experts are saying, and those that are looking at the financial devastation that is going to happen. And I know that will come. So those of you that have got money, that is what you should be doing with it. A little bit, one of my clients, she's been putting £100 away every month and been buying silver with that £100. So whatever bits you can do. And just a tip would be for people in the UK, obviously the Royal Mint, but you can get the European Mint that does VAT-free silver coins, and there's lots of global other resources in America that offer the coins as well. So it's all online, and get it in matter, not the the electronic technological money that everybody's investing in, although a lot of people are saying Bitcoin as well, but for me it's silver. If you are one of those people, and I've wrote an article about this and I'm going to be sharing this in more detail, if you're one of those people that are in debt, and believe me, I've been there and worked through many teachers and teachings and practices and empowerments to get me out of debt. And I include mortgage as debt, because mortgage is a debt. It's a French word, isn't it? Mort, death. It's a death sentence. That's what the word means. So if you are someone with debt, really feel right now on how you can get out of that. For me, it was about readdressing my life completely and looking at the way I was living. I was even in debt when I was a well-paid teacher. I used to work as a consultant for schools, and even with a good salary, I was still in debt. I still had a mortgage, I still had an overdraft. So this was a big thing for me to want to get out of, and I had to work hard at that. I've never relied on any other source. I've never took money off the government. I've always been self-sufficient, because that's my empowerment. I am empowered to be self-sufficient. I am a sovereign being who can earn my own money, and that is everybody's free choice to do that or not to do that. You just have to dig deep and search within yourself as to how you make your own money. I make my own money. I do not take money, and that is my sovereignty, and that's how I escaped debt. So I paid everything off. I got rid of my cars, I got rid of my mortgage, I got rid of the house, I lived in rented accommodation, I worked my ass off, and I started to save. And at the point that the saving wasn't enough, I lived in a caravan. I sold everything and I lived in a caravan, and I saved and saved and saved and worked and worked and worked, and could not believe it when I looked at how much I had, and I thought, I'm going to buy something with this. I'm going to buy my own property. And I couldn't buy in the places that I might have gone to, that I might have wanted to be in, you know, like Hawaii or anything like that. I didn't have the money to purchase property there, but I knew I could purchase property somewhere. And then that's what I did. I found a place that you know, I'm in France, the property's cheap here, and I purchased a house outright. I got out of the debt, and I've stayed out of debt, and I am working and, you know, living debt free. The powers that be at the moment will use debt as a way to enslave you. They will use your leaning on them as a way to enslave you, and this that's going to happen in our world will roll out quickly next year. Anyone who's claiming from the state, they will use to put in a world program for earning money and for making money. You'll be placed in jobs. They will call back mortgages. It's been seen before in America during the 1930s. It was seen in Spain less than a year ago. So debt will be called back. So work on becoming sovereign, work on becoming debt free. And I share this with my groups. I have a group called the Sacred Mystery School, which is a monthly membership. And I will, from November, be sharing how to become debt free, how to become empowered, how to get out of the mindset that you're in, and how to get out of those vicious circles. I've done it. This is embodied. And I'm sharing this with you because every single person on this planet has the potential to. They just need to know how to. So as this descent, as this dark time begins to compact us, to contract us, to really pull us into the descent, it's a time for you to go into your own darkness and your own descent and deconstruct yourself. What is it in me and my life that needs to change? And then when you can work that out, you can then start to find out and feel into the things that are keeping you trapped into your reality, and get help to get out of that. And we're all in this together, all of us. There are people who are working ahead of everybody else. That's where I get my expertise from. I ask, what are you investing in? How are you getting ready for what's coming? And that's how I learn. So it's time for you to educate yourself. It's time for you to go in and find out what this time is really about. So I'm going to leave it there for today because I've filled your heads with enough already, and I will be doing some more lives with regards to all of this to try and help support people at a very, very important time in our humanity. So I look forward to speaking to you all. I hope this has been of some help, maybe dropped a few seeds into your mind about where this is going and how you travel through it. So goodbye for now from the Rose Temple, and I look forward to speaking to you all again soon.